Crook sat down with his officers and played a game of cards. So they camped the morning of the 17th. Crook tells his Indian scouts, head over the ridge, scout it out, see if there's anything, anybody we need to worry about, any hostiles. And he sat down with his officers and played a game of cards. Well, as he's playing cards, General Crook with his officers, he hears some shooting over the ridge. And he assumes the scouts were shooting at buffalo. They had done that in the past, and maybe we're going to bring some buffalo back. So he didn't get too alarmed. So as he sent those Indian scouts over the ridge, he started to hear some shooting. And he just assumed they were shooting at buffalo because they had done that in the past. So he continued to play cards. Well, all of a sudden, these Crow scouts come back over the ridge in a full gallop yelling, "Sioux! Sioux!" Well, at that point, they know they've got some trouble. So these scouts evidently got over the ridge, engaged with some hostile Sioux Indians, turned around, headed back over the ridge, yelling, "Sioux! Sioux!"
Wait, what kind of Indians did you say the scouts were?
They were not Sioux or Cheyenne. They were usually Crow, Arikara, some of them. I mean, they were ones that were enemies with Sioux and Cheyenne. Now, when Crook heard those cries of help, basically, or warning, he ordered Captain Anson Mills to take his command and ride over the ridge and push the Sioux back that evidently were coming, right? Otherwise, those people wouldn't be yelling Sioux. So Crook orders Captain Anson Mills and his command, because each officer has his own command within the Wyoming column, and he orders the command to ride over the ridge and push those Sioux back. Because what's Crook got to do? Why is he having them push those Sioux back? He's got to get himself organized. Okay, he's not ready for a battle. So this gave Crook some time to organize himself and his men and get prepared to defend themselves. Now they were in a little bit of a valley camping. So as soon as he got them organized, where did he order his command to go? Top of the ridges. Yeah, he didn't want to get stuck in that swallow and have a Fetterman problem. Okay? So once he got his troops organized, as Anson Mills and his soldiers are kind of beating back the Sioux and keeping them from getting there, Crook ordered his command to the top of an adjoining ridge to prevent the soldiers from being trapped in the valley that they were camped in. So this turns out to be what we know as the Battle of the Rosebud. It was fought in a great big area, open area. It was fought in coulees, side hills, valleys, and it lasted 6 hours with approximately 40,000 rounds of ammunition fired by Crook. So the Battle of the Rosebud was fought in a very large area. It was fought in coulees, side hills, valleys. It lasted approximately 6 hours, and they estimated that 40,000 rounds were fired. Now in the end, Crook lost 10 men killed and 18 wounded, and they estimated that the Indian force was approximately 1,000. How many did he have? 1,200, very good. So even match. Actually, that was pretty light loss of life and casualties.
And how many were
But Crook lost 10 men dead. He had 18 more wounded. They fought against an Indian force of approximately 1,000 warriors, and at best estimates, we understand that the Indians lost 39 killed in the Battle of the Rosebud. So 18 men dead, 18 soldiers dead, 18 more wounded. The Indians lost 39. It was about 1,200 against 1,000. So what did Crook do that's crucial? At this point, after the Battle of the Rosebud, what did he do? What? To where?
Push it.
He turned around and went back to the vicinity of Goose Creek. And there's 3 reasons why he vacated his advance to the far west. So we are going to be, if you want to call it the campaign of 1876 is going to be 1,200 men short, because Crook is never going to get there. He turned his forces around and went back to Goose Creek. 3 reasons why. Why? Give me a reason.
They want to leave the Indian Valley.
Not necessarily. That's a good guess.
I would need more.
He didn't have any ammo. Okay, ran out of ammo. That's one reason he did. How about another one? What's he got responsibility for? What? Yeah, 10 men killed, 18 wounded. He felt he had a responsibility to care for the wounded. So that's another reason he turned around. Now, this kind of goes back, Brooke was kind of getting to this in a way. The third reason, and probably the one that makes the most sense, other than the fact he didn't have the ammunition, he could have called for more ammunition, right? Stood fast. Is that this route that they were taking to the far west, if you can imagine this, they had to go through a narrow canyon. And if there are no hostiles in that area, would it be a problem going through a narrow canyon? No, but what did he know? There was all kinds of hostiles. So the only way he could get to where he needed to get was go through this narrow canyon, and he did not want to turn out to be the next Fetterman. Okay? So the three reasons that Crook vacated his advance to the far west was: 1, the command was out of ammunition; 2, he had wounded to care for; and 3, he did not want to take his men into that narrow canyon en route to the far west and face the chance of being the next Fetterman. Now, here's what's kind of interesting. Crook ordered his troops back to Goose Creek, and he didn't contact Gibbon or Terry and tell him he wasn't coming. Never did contact him and say he wasn't coming. Matter of fact, Crook and his command spent the next 8 days, from June 17th to June 25th, camped on Goose Creek. So he never did contact Terry or Gibbon and tell him he wasn't coming. And his command spent 8 days, June 17th through June 25th, camped on Goose Creek. Matter of fact, you know what Crook's soldiers were doing the day that Custer was wiped out to a man? They caught over 100 fish on Goose Creek the day Custer was wiped out. The day he was wiped out. Now, why did General Crook never have to explain his actions or suffer any consequences for those actions? Why? What? You're right, that a girl. What? Because they were ordered to act independently. He wasn't part of a team. He had to make a decision what was best for his command, which he probably did. But it's going to turn out not to be in the best interest of the campaign of 1876. What do you think he should have done? What should he have done, Megan? What do you think the right thing to do was? He should have probably made contact with Gibbon and Terry and told him he wasn't coming. But better than that, he probably should have gone back and got some ammunition and told him he was going to be late. That would probably have been better. But you cannot fault him in military history, because as Taylor was so smart to figure out, the rule was we were fighting independently. That was the rule.
Could have just gone back, got ammo, and then said, like, meet me at the valley I have to go through, and we can...
Or anything. He just didn't do any of that. Now, people don't... Let me tell you the impact of this. Not only did it impact less soldiers that we had, so to speak, from the campaign, but when news of the big victory, that's how the Indians looked at it, because what did Crook do? Retreated. News of the big victory at the Battle of the Rosebud reached other Indian warriors who didn't fight at the Rosebud. And their confidence got so high because of this great victory, Sitting Bull's warrior count at the Little Bighorn doubled 8 days later because of this victory at the Rosebud. All these warriors that probably never would have gone and joined Sitting Bull on the Little Bighorn went, because of this great victory over the white man at the Rosebud. So because of the great victory felt by the Indians, Sitting Bull's warrior count doubled from the battle to the Little Bighorn 8 days later. Doubled. Twice as many warriors are going to be at the Little Bighorn to meet whoever wants to meet him there. That's how big the Battle of the Rosebud was. Okay?
Still don't know how to shoot 40,000 rounds.
That means they're using more than 1,000 rounds to kill less than a person.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you. So, what does that tell you? That they were either bad shots or the Native Americans were good hiders? I mean, it's true though, yeah. Now, what's still going to continue though? What's going to happen right here? The meeting on the far west. And that's what we'll talk about in the next lecture, is who actually shows up and what is the story, what's the strategy. But Crook will not be part of it. Crook is back on Goose Creek relaxing.
1,000. 30.